Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something exciting to show you, and it is a new scanner from Creality. Creality have been kind enough to send out their latest scanner, the CR Scan Otter. They've released two scanners just recently for their anniversary, the Otter and the Raptor. Today we're looking at the Otter. The interesting thing that I like about this scanner is it has some very nifty features, but the main thing, as you can see on the box here, it can scan small to large objects. So the claims are that it can scan from a 1 centimeter cube up to a 2 meter cubed space. So you can go down to really small objects, but also very large objects with the one scanner. I always say to people that scanners have their individual purpose. So sometimes they're very good at small objects, sometimes they're very good at large objects, sometimes they're very accurate, but also the technology is just moving at such a rapid pace that a lot of these scanners are just coming out to the consumer market very quickly. But this is their latest one, apart from the Raptor as well, but we're going to take a look at the Otter today. So thank you to Creality for sending this to me. They haven't paid me for this unboxing or anything, they've just sent me the scanner and I'm allowed to keep it, so thank you to them. Let's get into the box. So, fairly basic box, nothing really interesting on the outside, but as soon as we get inside, we're going to be looking at the casing that it comes in. So it's very nice that Creality always packages their scanners in a nice little case. It's typically this kind of soft material, and it does have little hooks on the sides as well for a belt strap. If we just unzip this, and it does have a little handle on the top as well. So we'll open that. Obviously quite a few things in here, so let's have a look at this first front pocket. Okay, so we just have a little quality check card. We have some after sales service details, basically just covering some of the warranty information. This, I believe, is a scanning mat, so we'll have to look at the instructions to see how this works, but a lot of scanners can't really see black, so this kind of acts like a key out, so you can put your object on here, scan it, and it's not going to really see the mat itself. It's also nice that they give us some tracking dots as well. These scanners usually say they don't need tracking dots, but in certain situations it can help to have these, especially when you have very large symmetrical geometry where it needs those points of reference to see that bigger picture of an object. Otherwise you just end up losing sync with the scan. Now this is a calibration board. There are some details on the back on how to do this, so we'll probably have to set this up on our first use. Now our next pocket has some other goodies. It has a couple of these little USB-C dongles, cleaning cloth, a lanyard for the scanner itself, like a little wrist lanyard, and then a strap for the case itself, so that would go onto the hooks. And then under this sleeve, I have opened this before because I was trying to unbox and I actually realized I didn't film the whole thing, so otherwise this would have been in some plastic like this. This is just the power cable and data cable for the scanner. It's cool that this uses just one cable. So USB to your computer, USB-C to the scanner. That's it. That's your power. That's your data. No messing around with a bunch of cables and power cables and all sorts of stuff. This is just a USB to USB-C cable. This is really cool. They have sent a little test scanning object. How cool is that? So it's a little owl in an egg. A lot of little fine details. I'm really interested to see how this actually scans, and I believe it comes in every package, so really cool. And this can capture color as well. If they're confident enough that they put this in the package, I'm really interested to see what this can do. And then the Otter scanner itself. And here we go. So it's quite small, not as small as the ferret, which I have here. You can see the ferret is crazy, crazy small compared to this. It's about 3 times the size of the ferret, but it could probably do a lot more than the ferret as well. Take a look around the scanner. You have a Creality logo on the top, nothing on the top and bottom edge or the side edges. On the bottom, blank, but we do have a little rubber protector here, which goes to a camera mount socket. On the back, we have the USB-C port for powering and data transmission. And another thing which is really cool about this is a button for controlling the scanner. Now it doesn't press, so it's obviously a capacitive touch. We have a play button for starting and stopping the scanner, plus a negative for adjusting the exposure setting or the brightness setting. It's also LED backlight. So the cool thing about this is it's going to display different colors based on what the scanner is doing. So I believe it's green when ready to scan, or it is scanning. It will then, when you are scanning, it will change the color based on how far you are to the object. So if you're too close or too far away, if you lose sync, it will flash. So it's really cool that you can control this scanner just from using the touch button on the back, and you're not having to use a mouse and look at a screen and trying to click and move around at the same time. And still, of course, have a screen off to the side so you can see exactly what you're producing with the scan, but so much easier just having this control. So the next thing, of course, is the front, or where the cameras are itself. So we have our projector lens. The two outside from that are our near or close object cameras. The furthest point are our long distance cameras, and then this camera just here is for color capture, and then we have two LEDs for lighting the object as well. So projector, close, far, color, and LED. There's a lot packed in to this one device. So from here, I believe I'm going to install the software. We might do a quick sort of scan straight out of the box just to see what sort of results we get. And then in the future, I'm going to do some follow-up videos where I get more familiar with the software and scanning, kind of give you my opinion on this device itself. So let's jump over to the computer and see what we can do there. Now, just to show you quickly what my scanning setup looks like before we get into the software itself. So I have the Otter scanner here. It's very close to the object. It needs about this distance, even a bit closer is good. And it's on a little turntable. So this is connected to my computer. It's just got the one cable. And the reason why I've got it on this tripod is because the turntable will turn around for me and I can just adjust this up and down as needed. So I find having a tripod keeps the scanner in its most optimal position and its most stable position to make the scanning easier. And then all I have to do is just move this around as I need. Okay, so we'll jump into the software and let's do a scan and see how this goes. So the software we're using for the CR Scans Otter is the same that is used for the Ferret, which is Creality Scan. It's a different software to the Lizard. I'm currently on a version 3.1.24, which is an early release to me for this scanner. And the first time I loaded the scanner into the software, it asked me to update the firmware. I then did a calibration, but a lot of this extra detail I'm going to go over in a future video where I actually take you through the software and do a proper tutorial. So this is just a first scan, first impression. So let's get right into it. What we would do is we'll go to new scan and we need to give it a name. I'm going to go OW1. And in this case, we're scanning a very small object. So we're going to want to do a normal object. We want it to be small. We're using the geometry instead of texture or marker. We want it to be high quality, and in this case we are using a turntable. This will help cut out the turntable for us. If you hover over these, it will give you a bit of information for each one as well. And then we go to the next stage, which is scan. So immediately we should see our object on the screen, as you can see, and it's giving us that it's on the side here. It's telling us how close or how far we are from the object. It's saying we're in an optimal range, and it says to click the play button to begin scanning, which is here. Or with this particular scanner, the Otter, there is a play button on the back of it. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to click on the back. And before I do that, I actually need to turn the turntable on. So as you can see now, the turntable is turning around. I'm also putting it on this little black pad as well, which is provided with the Otter. And hopefully that just eliminates any geometry under the object itself. So let's start the first scan. We're going to just push play on the back of the scanner and just let it slowly go around and begin scanning the object. So I like using the turntable and a tripod. This way it's very precise and very stable, and I can make sure I can try and get the best quality scan I can. And I'm going to let it go around a full rotation, and then I'll move the scanner down a little bit and try and get different angles. So from a midpoint, a bottom, and then a top, and then we can rotate the object around and get the base of it as well. So that's one full rotation. So I'm going to drop it down, trying to get as low as I can. And as you can see, it is picking up some noise, but we can clean that out during the processing. To speed things up a bit, I may just sort of cut through sections and avoid all this slow part. We can also check and see how well our scan is looking. We can go over here and go to original mode. So this kind of gives us an idea of how much it's actually scanned. We can go to quality mode. So quality will instead change it to green, where it feels like it's gotten good scan data. And we're going to just scan it from the very top now as well. Okay, and now we want to try and get the base of it. So what you can do is you can just point the scanner in the sky so it can't see anything, flip the object on its side so you can see the base, and then bring the scanner back down and point it at the target again. And we'll just leave it on there for a bit, let it think, trying to align itself again. It should pick up eventually if we just sort of play around with it, trying to let it see the object. At some point it should see it again. There we go. Okay, and I think that's enough, so we're going to now stop the scan. And do we want to complete the scanning? Yes. So as we can see, our scan has come through. If you go too close, you can't really make out much of what's going on, but if you bring it out a bit, you should see a bit better. I think this may have an issue because it looks like it has doubled up a bit. I think this is going to, you can see there's two sets of feet here, and that probably would have come through when we flipped it over on its side. So what I might try and do, I'm just going to ignore this scan. Actually, we might process it and just see what happens. So we want to drop this down. Because it's a small object, we're going to go to 0.1 and we'll just click on that and let it go through the meshing process. Now the meshing process, depending on the object, how much data you've got in the scan, etc., can take maybe 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. You just have to let it run and do its thing. Okay, we are back, but we can see it hasn't quite turned out as I was saying. It did pick up some duplicate geometry. It didn't quite align things back in place like it should have, so it wasn't a great scan this occasion. What we can do though, we're just going to do another scan. This time I'm not going to move the object. I'm just going to move the scanner up and down to capture the object, but I'm not going to try and capture the base. When I go into the tutorial, we'll go into more details on how to do proper scans, but this is just a quick sort of demonstration. So let's go and do another scan. We're not going to delete and start a new project, but what we can do is actually just go, well, it sounds like it's doing a new project, but it's doing a new scan in the same project. So we're going to have the same settings: normal, small, geometry, high quality. Yes, turntable, hit scan. We're going to align the object again. We're going to start from a little higher this time. Just try and get that object right in the center. Start our scanner and then start our turntable. So we'll let it go around, and I'm going to stop talking, just cut through to the end of the scanning, or speed this up, and then continue talking at the end of it. Alright, we are back, and now I'm going to complete this scan. Get a yes. It's picked up quite a bit of extra trash this time, and we can actually go through and delete this stuff just to make the scanning a little quicker. Obviously we don't need all this kind of junk material. Alright, and then we're going to drop our resolution down to 0.1, and we're going to optimize this. And we are back, and we can see it hasn't done a great job, but this is going on just one scan. I'm going to delete this other scan as well because this is not going to work for us, this one. So we just got this one scan. There's some parts missing here, which it seems to always miss on this model. Obviously from above we could go a bit higher and try and capture in here, and this is why you do a second scan and align it so you can capture those details, and then obviously fitting in the base as well. So what I might do is do another couple or 1 or 2 scans where I can get the base as well, and then I'll show you the alignment, and then we'll do a final process. Alrighty, I'm back. I've done a couple of scans now, as you can see on the left hand side here, and we can jump between these scans simply by clicking on them. So this is our first scan. We're missing a little bit here and on the base. I've done a second scan where I've flipped it over, so we've got more of the base now, but we don't have the front. And the third scan I put on its side, kind of like this, so that way I could capture more in the top here and around the legs, but obviously the back is missing. Now what we want to do is align our 3 scans. So I've processed each of them at 0.1, and we need to now merge them. So we can click on this, select our 3 scans, and it's just set to auto and start. And I find the auto alignment does quite a good job. Haven't really had it mess up, and you can manually go in and change things as well. So let's see how this turns out. It should be fine, I think. And there we go. We've got a preview. It's looking pretty good. I mean, it's looking a bit rough on those edges there, but overall I think that is fairly decent. So we can say yes, and then we can exit. Alright, so we can see now we have just one. It's called component 1. It's just one layer scan now. It's looking a little rough, honestly, like some of these bits in around the feet. But let's go ahead and now do our mesh processing. So we're going to bump the faces up. We're going to go quite high. We'll just say 450. The higher the faces, it just means the more dense the mesh is and the higher quality you're going to get out of it. I'm going to make sure the holes are filled so it fills anything that's missing. And the rest of the settings we're going to leave as it is, and we'll just click on that. So again, depending on variables such as what your machine is, how complex the geometry is, how much data there is that you've actually scanned, this can take a while. It could be 5 minutes, could be 20 minutes. So the best thing is just leave your computer on at this stage, let it run through the process. Hopefully it does it pretty quick, and we'll be back when it's done that. Alright, so that was really quick actually. That probably only took a minute at the most. So let's have a look at our model. As you can see, it's actually cleaned it up a little bit better than I was expecting. It is a little rough around the feet here. The base is a little choppy. I'm just looking at the model. It's actually not too bad because a lot of these features are actually in the feet itself as well. So pretty good, I think. Maybe just around those feet there, it's a little rough. But I mean, at the size it is, that's pretty good. Now the final thing we can do is also look at the color capture. So when you're scanning, it's also taking photographs of the model and it's going to piece them all together. So the last step you can do is color mapping. We'll click on that. This can take a little while as well. Again, all the variables involved, but just leave it for the 5 minutes or so and see what sort of result you get from the automatic texture mapping. Back again, that probably took about maybe 5 minutes, so pretty quick. And we can see it's done a fairly good job. I think it looks a little yellow, but overall, I mean, it looks pretty nice. You can obviously see if you were to scan this in like a more uniform lighting environment, like a light box or something, you wouldn't end up with shadow areas like this so much, where the shadow is sort of jumping up depending on the angle, and that yellowness that's sort of probably coming through from the lighting in the room. But for a scan out of the box with the texture mapping, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. As you can see, it's even captured the bottom for us and done that. So you can see where that lighting's picked up, and it's sort of blown it out with the contrast. So to sum up my final thoughts on this scanner, the CR Scan Otter from Creality, I think it's a very powerful scanner. I mean, we're just looking at the one object here. It's quite small. It does seem to pick up some really good detail for the size it is. Comparing it to something like the Lizard wouldn't probably get this fine detail in those smaller areas. I think it would smooth it out too much and just wouldn't quite get it. So it'd be interesting to see how well it does on a medium-sized object and then a large-sized object as well. Going forward, I'm going to do some tutorials on this because the software's changed and there's a bit of a different process to how we go about scanning. Plus the Otters is also capable of more sized objects to scan. So stick around, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and you'll be notified when those videos start coming out. Alright, thanks for watching and catch you in the next one.